The title of tonight's message is going to be God Meant It for Good. And as we know that there's a lot of things that sometimes we don't understand why they're happening. Like, I think about, we have this new puppy who we're like obsessed about, and she's gotten really good about going outside and potty outside, and everything's been great. And then this rain doesn't help, because she doesn't know how to go inside, and she's just looking out the window like, if this rain doesn't stop, it's going to be out behind the couch. So, this rain and the cold is just getting frustrated sometimes, and sometimes we can look around and we think about how uncomfortable that rain is for us, how uncomfortable the cold is for us, the fact that we're Floridians, let's be real, 60 degrees is the winter for us. We're not equipped for this kind of cold. We don't have the jackets for it. We don't have the stuff. Some of these New Yorkers still have their stuff, but we get the cold, we get a 60 degree, and we bust out the earmuffs, right, Jen? Where is she? Yeah. Because that's what we say for like our trips up north, so we get really ridiculous about that. And then I stop and I think about that. There's a purpose for that rain. Because it may be inconvenient for me and my dog walking, and it may be inconvenient that it's cold or that I gotta put like 3 jackets on my kid because I'm exaggerated, but maybe somewhere there's a reason for the rain. Because maybe there's a need for the rain, or maybe there's a need for the cold, because maybe some farmer out there up in Okeechobee, the Pastor Joel likes Okeechobee, maybe his crop is dry. Maybe he's waiting for that rain. Maybe he's been praying for that rain. Maybe he was about to lose his crop, which means that he could lose his finances for the year, and then he could lose his home because of that rain. And that rain can inconvenience me. But if I look a little further than my inconvenience, I can realize that there's a purpose and plan. And God meant it for good. Okay, so we'll go to the next slide. We can see some ingredients here. And some of you guys know that I kind of like the kitchen, right? And if you look at these ingredients by themselves, they could be pretty disgusting. Like just a stick of butter, a raw egg, some cream. And don't be deceived by this chocolate right there, because that is a deception waiting to happen. If you ever baked with chocolate, you know that chocolate right there is not a Snickers bar. It's some nasty cocoa powder that has no flavor. And if you ever cooking and you're like, and your kid runs to the kitchen and wants to take a bite, they're gonna spit it out because it's some bitter, dark chocolate that is what's necessary for that recipe, whatever you're doing. So these ingredients like this, by themselves, are not appetizing. They're not good, and furthermore, in the wrong hands, they could be disgusting.
I don't know about you guys, if you've ever left a thing of eggs in your car. Maybe you went grocery shopping and they slipped to the back of your thing. Or if you left butter, or if you've ever been a mom and you've left a baby bottle and you find it like behind the couch or something, that is disgusting. That milk will curd and get pungent, and it's just... So these ingredients, I know that I won't want to eat raw flour. I don't want to eat raw butter or raw eggs or dark bitter chocolate, but these ingredients are like the mess in our lives sometimes. We have all these things, I think all of us right now are dealing with one thing or another. It could be school, it could be work. For some of us, it's more traumatic things than other things. For some of us, we're dealing with a loss. Some of us, we're dealing with marital issues, divorce, finance. For some of us, our biggest drama is that we didn't make the club, the YouTube club or the chess club or whatever. In our own level, we're dealing with some sort of issue. And sometimes it's up to us with what we do with all of these ingredients to see what we make out of it. So if we go to the next one, if you put these ingredients in the right hands, in my hands, by the way, in the right hands, you can get something amazing. You guys, I know that looks amazing. You guys may not like chocolate as much as I do, but these ingredients in the master's hands, and there's a principle behind it, you can make something awesome. So those same things that could be disgusting if left undone or undealt with or not treated correctly could make like a nasty doughy cake or this amazingness. But it's just a matter of whose hands you're in. So I don't know about you, but I want to be in the master's hands. I want to be in the almighty God's hand, because I know that my ingredients are not pretty. I know that my baggage, I know that my background, I know that my personality, my attitude maybe sometimes, a lot of my little different things can be explosive if left undone. But I know that in the Master's hands, all of it together, everything put together can create something beautiful. So tonight we're going to talk a little bit about Joseph. I mean, I know you guys have all heard about Joseph and poor kid. I mean, really, this boy was given a gift by God. He was his father's favorite son. I mean, he was Jacob's son.
And he was in love with this boy. He loved him. I mean, he cared for him. His brothers were all out tending the sheep. They were dealing with dirty sheep. And he is wearing a pretty robe. His dad made a nice robe with tassels and colors and stuff like that. So obviously the brothers are going to look at him like, what's going on here, right?
Not to mention that he had, on top of everything, him being the beloved of his father, God gave him a dream. And God gave him several dreams. So what did he do with these? As a young man, and he's excited, and he knows that he's his father's favorite, he shares these dreams with his brothers. So his brothers didn't share in his vision. That's like a preaching in itself. Who you're sharing your vision with. But we're going to leave that for Pastor Joel or someone else. We have to be very careful with who we share the things that God has put in our lives and what he's put in our lives and our gifts. But like I said, that's another preaching. So God gave him these dreams, and he went and he shared it with his brothers. So it really has to be difficult for this young man that they didn't like him. I mean, you really must think to know that 9 out of your 11 brothers don't like you, okay? They don't like you. They're plotting against you. They eventually trick him. They take him, they sell him, and he ends up being a slave somewhere. We know the story behind it. We know that his brothers were jealous. They had all of this planned, and really what they wanted to do was kill him. But, they eventually ended up putting him in a pit, in a hole, and they saw this caravan of men, and they ended up selling him. So in the end of the day, he ends up being a slave. Then he ends up going to jail. He's accused, because he was accused of rape. And then later on, through God's mercy and grace, all of his situations helped him to get to be a very important man who later on, I'm not going to give you all the details about that. You guys can definitely read that up on your own. But he ended up using all those situations in his life, and he was in a place of authority in which he was able to be a blessing for his family later on. He was a blessing to his brothers, where he could have had the opportunity to look at them and say, you know what? Because of what you did to me, I'm not going to help you. Because of what you did to me, the resentment in my heart is so strong or so deep that I'm gonna turn my face away from you. And honestly, I don't know about you, but I don't know 100% that I would have done what Joseph did, After everything they did to him, and after everything he had to suffer because of them, that he went and he helped him. But, we know that everything that he went through, all of the situations in his life, everything that he dealt with, he used it, and God used it for good. He ended up being that blessing that his family needed. I think that a lot of these things are about perspective. It says God will use what Satan meant as destruction as a stepping stone. Genesis 50:20 says, you intended to harm me, but God intended it for good, to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives. So I don't know what you're going through. I mean, listen, 2015 was a pretty rough year for me. I lost my father, and I still have a hard time about it. And I know that brought up so many different things in my life that I thought that I had buried. Sometimes we dig these holes, and we put in these holes, we put our pain, we put our emotions, and, we tell ourselves, especially me, if you're anything like me, when something bad happens, I turn into let's figure it out. Some people really deal with the emotion, and some people really deal with the pain, and they like to live the pain, not me. I like to, Okay, this is the situation. What's the solution? Call over here, solve it over here. Let me focus on somebody else, and I don't feel. And let me tell you, that is dangerous. That is dangerous because we put layers. We put layers of emotion. We put layers of pain on top of all these different things. And then when one day God decides that you can't continue to hide those things, the excavating and the digging that you have to do is twice as painful. It's twice as painful. Because we all know that our experiences are not for ourselves. You know, sometimes we like to stick things under the rug. You know, we like to just keep it moving. We like to get ourselves occupied, and sometimes some of us don't even know how to stand still. I have a hard time with that. I have a hard time standing still because I know that if I sit and if I have nothing to do, I have to deal with myself. And I don't want to do that. You know, during the summer when my father died, I was in the middle of a very intensive semester in school, and I was in the middle of one of the hardest classes that you can take. And the semester had just started, and I remember speaking to, you can only miss 2 of these classes without being failed from the class. And I knew that I had to travel to my father's funeral, and I sent an email to the dean of the school, and I said, look, I'm going to go with this. And I got an email back from all of the deans together. I had only sent it to one person, and they sent me an email back with everybody. Have you ever sent out an email, and it comes back with, like, everybody CC'd, and you're like, oh, man. Everybody's on that thing because now they're holding you accountable. It's not just you. Now they want, like, witnesses and over here. So everybody was suggesting, and everybody's suggestion was, you need to withdraw from this semester. You really need to stop and deal with what you're going through, and it's better if you just withdraw because we think that eventually it's going to be a bigger problem. So as stubborn as I am, I said, no, I can't withdraw. This is the middle of all of this, and let me tell you, I'm great at justifying. I don't know about you guys, but you're like, no, this is what my father would want me to do. I can do it. If I'm home, it's going to be worse, and really, I have to just do it. I got to keep myself busy. But against everybody's will, I continued the semester. And this is the pattern this is the same road that I went through a few years back when I lost my brother. Because if you guys don't know, our brain creates grooves. And these grooves are deepened every time that we take the same roads, the same actions. This is why if you're driving somewhere and you're always used to going a certain route, and you're not thinking another day and you're on the phone, you end up in, like, your old house or your own neighborhood. And this is the evidence stuff. This is the stuff that's tangible. But there's times that our brain does things that we don't even realize that's with our emotions. The same way when we've been hurt before, or we've been hurt by someone, and that person wants to make a change, our brain automatically goes to that same old road, and we're like, no. And we block off possible blessings. We block off possible restoration of relationships. We block off feeling. We block off the very thing that makes us human. The very thing that God has instilled in us because He didn't put the ability to feel so that we can hide it. He didn't put the ability to feel so that we can bury it so deep so that we're not dealing with ourselves. And then later on, when a big blessing is in our way, or a big blessing is before us, and God says, you have to deal with yourself before you get that. And then you have 2 options. You can either say, it's too painful, I'm going to go this way over here, the route that my brain knows, or I can go the route where it says, okay, God, here I am with my shovel, and it's going to hurt, and it's going to hurt a lot, but I know that in the end, I'm going to get the blessing. I know that as a woman, I've given birth. And I know that there's a lot of months, there's a lot of times that you wonder, why am I doing this? This is painful. This is difficult. I feel horrendous. You have to push a baby out of a canal that you shouldn't even have to push out of. I mean, there's like very, very difficult moments. But tell me why women go through this pain and they're like, and they cry and they swear they're never doing this again. next year they're right back. The year after, they have like 8 kids. And they're all, because when you're in that situation, you're remembering the pain, you remember everything. But then when you see the reward for that pain, nothing is as beautiful as that. And that's just one analogy. So when I tell you that I am an expert digger, I'm like, this is painful. I'm going to dig my hole right here. I'm going to dig my hole. I'm going to put it in there, and I'm going to cover it. And then I'm going to cover. And every time that I add another success story to myself, it's like another layer into my hole. Oh, it's like dug in there. I'm going to put it in there. But then God has shown me time and time again where there's been opportunities for me to deal with myself. And he's like, your next blessing is right there, but bring your shovel. And it hurts. It hurts, but you know that unless you sit there and then you're digging out and you're like, all right. And there's been nights that I sit there and I'm like, God, I don't feel anything. And I've had conversations with different friends and stuff like that where I'm like, am I wrong? Am I crazy? Why is it that I have such a hard time feeling? Like I see people in church and they cry and they go through it and I'm just like, cool. And it's bad because you miss out on what God wants for you. And I'm not saying, I'm not saying that you have to be ultra dramatic and you have to like be in the river of pain all the time. But sometimes it's necessary. Sometimes it's okay for us to know that we're made out of flesh and bones. That if Jesus himself was able to have a moment, who are we not to have that moment? Who are we not to experience that? Now, let's shift it a little bit and say now, this is what our pain has gone. This is what, and we can use, it could have been the other way around, where I'm like, everything happens to me. My brother died, and then my father, and this and that, and my parents. I could have had the biggest pity party by myself. And let me tell you, that's also a dangerous road to go through. So you can go this one route or you can go the other, but in the end, everything that we've dealt with, every situation in our lives, God can use it for good. I'll tell you that it's all about perspective. We can sit here and we can look at the painful situation that I don't know about what you may be going through. If you may have resentment, if somebody's hurt you so bad, if somebody's betrayed you. Let's talk about betrayal. This guy, Joseph, he knows about betrayal. He knows about rejection. Let's talk about humiliation. He went to be a slave. He was defamed. He was spoken ill about. They called him a rapist. These are all the different things. I think everything that could possibly happen happened to him. So we can't sit here and say, oh, but you don't know what's happened to me. Oh, you could, I've had people tell me, oh, that's nice what you say, but honestly, you don't know. You don't know what happened in my home. You don't know what pain I've had to deal with. And I will tell you that no matter what your pain has been like, every single painful situation, every single moment, every single tear, every single betrayal, every single loss, every single painful moment has a seed. And that seed can be an explosive, amazing, abundant tree of life, or it could be a seed that comes with the biggest weed and it traps you in the ground and keeps you low on the ground. So I tell you tonight, simple. It's all about perspective. Maybe you're not happy about where you're at. Maybe you don't even know why you're unhappy. That's happened to me, where I'm just like, I know that I'm blessed, and I feel guilty about feeling unhappy sometimes because I'm like, I have what I need. What's wrong with me? And I'll tell you that when you sit and you analyze, sometimes we have to do this. You have to sit down and you have to think about what areas in my life are trapping me. What have I done with the seeds of my life, with the seed of pain, of loss? What have I done with that? Have I watered the seed and made the best out of it and said, you know what? This that you have given me, God, no, let's restate that. It's not like God has given me the pain, but the fact that he's allowed me to go through certain roads Or maybe my own sin has made me go through different opportunities, or maybe different things, or maybe the fact that we live in a broken world. Sometimes I don't have the answer to everything. You know, there's people who ask me all the time, and I think that this is the most asked question for Christians. Oh, but if your God is real, why is there hunger? Why is there pain? Why is there tsunamis? Why is this? I don't have the answer to everything. But when you have a child that dies of cancer, there's things that don't have an answer. There's things that we honestly don't have an explanation or a biblical explanation for. And like I said, it could be many things. But what I do know is that God didn't promise us that we were not going to go through tribulations and trials. As a matter of fact, he said that we are going to have afflictions. He didn't say that he's going to walk you by the hand around the affliction and he's not going to touch you. He didn't say that you're going to avoid the painful moments, but he did tell you that he's going to put you through it. He said that he's going to walk with you hand in hand, that he's going to grab you by the hand and he's going to walk with you every step of the way, that whatever it is that you're going through, he's going to grab you and he's going to pick you up and he's going to ensure that you're going to walk through that fire and you're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. I had to tell myself that many times. There was a time in my life when I thought I was never going to smile again. I thought this is the end, and I was angry. And I was like, how could you do this to me? How could you let this happen to me? I loved you. I've served you. I have served you. I have made a difference in my life. I see other people taking a different route, but I haven't done that. And how could you let this happen to me? How could you let me go through this pain? How could you let me go through this without? And I'll tell you that fight lasted about half a day. Because the next day, I determined that I was going to turn my pain into worship. That I was going to turn everything that was inside of me, I was going to turn it to worship. Because during every second that I worship was me telling him, I surrender. I was telling him, God, it doesn't matter what I'm going through. My worship is not dependent. Like Pastor Elizabeth said, it is not circumstantial. It doesn't matter what I'm going through. I may not feel like worshiping you right now, but I'm going to worship you because this is what I know what to do. I know that whatever it is that I'm going through is going to pass. That whatever I'm going through, you're going to use it for good. That whatever pain I'm going through, you're going to make me victorious. That whatever pain I have inside of me, you're going to birth something new. That whatever pain I'm going to deal with, I'm going to push, and I'm going to have something new, and I'm going to have something amazing. And I may have pain again. And I may feel the pain again and again and again. But every time, I'll learn how to do it better. Every time, I'm going to learn how to do it better. Like a woman who's had many children, that first time in labor, she hurts. She doesn't know. She's a novice. But when she's already had a few kids, she knows that it's going to be painful. She knows that she's going to go in there and it's going to be painful. And she knows that it's going to be long because it's not easy. And it's not like a half an hour, I'm here to have this kid. Just pop it out. No. You know that you're there and it's going to have a period of pain. But you know what? You already know when you learn to recognize who your Father is, when you learn to recognize who you are in Christ, it doesn't matter because you know you're about to enter into a painful situation, but you know the reward. You know you can taste it, you can see it, you can smell it. You know that whatever it is that you're going to feel is going to be worth it because in the end you're going to have the prize. I mean, I can't tell you enough of how amazing it is, the fact that God has promised us that we're victorious in the end. That we are victorious. My kids laugh because I like this crazy country kind of Yankee Doodle song that says we win in the end. It doesn't matter. Whatever it is that we go through, whatever painful situation we're going through right now, we have been promised that we win. We win, guys. That should get you excited. We win, guys. There's no guessing. We win in the end. And your perspective, you see, the way you deal with your situation, it's going to either make you better or bitter. Okay? Think about that. Better or bitter. Really, there's nothing in between. You're either working your way towards being better or you're working your way to go backwards. So I choose to be better because it's not fun being bitter. It's not fun for myself and it's not fun for my husband. It's not fun for my family. It's not fun for anybody. And at the end of the day, you're robbing yourself. Because every single moment that you're away from your purpose, you're robbing yourself and you're robbing those around you. Every single gift that God has given you, every single purpose that God has put inside of you, every day that you spend it on whimpering on yourself and crying and having a pity party is a day you're off. It's a day God is like, I can't use this. She's a mess today. And at the end of the day, I know that I don't want to spend the day off from God. I don't want to know that the day that I didn't go, because life will have it that the day that you didn't show up to class, there was a test. The day that you didn't show up, the good thing happened. And I don't want to live my life like that. That the day that I decided to mope and stay in bed and shut down my curtains or just be nasty to everybody around me because I had a hard day, that's the day that I missed my blessing. Because that's the day that I was going to encounter my breakthrough. Because that's the day that I was going to get what I was finally looking for a long time. So you can sit here and say that Joseph had a stinky life. But see, if Joseph's brother never sold him to the Midianites, then he never goes to Egypt. If Joseph never goes to Egypt, he's never sold. Okay? If he's never sold, guess what? He never goes to jail for being accused. If he never gets accused of raping this woman, he never goes to jail. If he never goes to jail, he never meets the baker and he never meets the butler. And if he never meets the butler, he never interprets their dreams. And if he never interprets their dreams, he's never taken to Pharaoh to interpret his dreams. And if he never interprets his dreams, he doesn't become the administrator of the estate. And if he doesn't become the administrator of the estate, he's never able to be a good servant for the famish that's coming. And if he's not good about administering the estate, he doesn't have enough for his family. And if he doesn't have enough for his family's dead. And if his family's dead, the Messiah can't come from his family. And if the Messiah doesn't come through that family, you and I are not here. So let's get real about perspective. Let's shake off why does this happen to me? Why does this all happen to me? Why couldn't you give me a break? Let's look at perspective. Let's think about the benefit that is behind what you're going through. It may not be what you want. It may be painful. It may be hard. But he's promised that no matter what you're going through, you're going to see the victory. You're going to see the victory. I mean, honestly, I can tell you today that I don't have things figured out. I mean, I have a lot of things that I'm still dealing with and things that I know that I have to unbury so that God can use. But, a lot of emotions that several years ago, it was a moment of stirring. Actually, about 4 years ago or 3 years ago, whenever my husband and I were ordained as pastors, God has a funny way of doing things. There were certain things in my life, little roots that had tied me so tight around the ankles and into the ground that I had added so many layers of dirt on top of it that sometimes I even forgot about those things. And God is so awesome that right before we got ordained, actually the day we were, right after we got ordained, that same day in church, the very same day that happened, God came knocking. And he's like, hey, let's not forget, okay? The things that you have undealt with. I'm like, really? Like right now, you're not even going to let me enjoy the moment? You're not going to let me enjoy what just happened? I mean, we were just ordained. This is awesome. He's like, yeah. But before you're able to move forward, you got to deal with those things. That baggage. I knew someone who told me that, this is a metaphor, obviously, but she said, that we all have a big black bag, like a big garbage bag, one of those big construction bags. And I said, okay. She says, the problem is that our bag is just enough for us. But the problem becomes when we start looking at somebody else's bag and we start picking up their things, their issues. Oh, my mom doesn't know how to do this, so I'm going to help her. Let me put this in my bag. My friend has this emotional pain, and she has this and that. I'm going to come and help her. And I put this in my bag. And their bag is nice and light, and they're walking around just fine. And then you're like, oh, I have this problem at work and this people, this and that. And I keep on stuffing my bag with things that don't belong to me. And I stuff it to the point where I'm tired, where I'm exhausted, and my bag is exploding. And I see people just walking by with their bag empty. So this image has always stuck in my mind because I think about the amount of things that we appropriate ourselves that don't belong to us. The pains that don't belong to us. The load and the baggage that doesn't belong to us. The resentments that don't belong to us. God says that He is your judge. That He is the one that can avenge you. That He is the one that can deal with all of those people that have hurt you. But we're so busy filling our bag with junk. And we sit there, and sometimes the people don't even remember us, to be honest. You're like, oh, I wish that this happened to them and they are going to pay. Or what, having this unforgiveness in our heart, it's like making a veneno, making a venom, and making it for them, and you're like putting all your effort into them and drinking it yourselves. You're expecting for them to have the suffering, but yet you're the one that ends up with all the pain. Sometimes, like I said, they don't even remember who we are. But here we are filling in stuff in our bags. So I'll tell you, again, your experiences are not for you. Whatever you're going through, maybe you lost a child. Maybe you lost a parent. Maybe you've battled addiction. Maybe you've had a divorce. Maybe you've had separation. Maybe you've had something that has hurt you so deep in your heart, and maybe those things are tying you down to the ground. I invite you today to recognize, to not be afraid, not be a coward, because I'll tell you, it takes a lot of courage to recognize the things that tie us down to the ground. To recognize that these are the shackles, these are the things that keep us bound and that are not allowing us to move forward. These are the things that when we wonder, God, why aren't you moving me? Why aren't you prospering me? Why isn't the church growing? Why is not my business not doing well? Why am I not growing spiritually? But sometimes all it takes is for us to open up our eyes and look around us, that we're tied to emotional, that we have unforgiveness to ourselves, that we have resentment towards others, that we have self-esteem issues, that we have things that are not allowing us to move forward. And what if God put you in a place of leadership of thousands, but you can't even deal with yourself? What if God said, okay, Maria, today you're going to pastor 100,000 people or 5,000 when I can't even deal with myself? And I'm telling you, this is something that's very personal to me. But I know that there's areas in my own life, and I may be preaching to myself today, that need resolving in order for me to move forward. And then we sit there and we spend nights and we cry and we wonder why things don't go the way we want. But it's time to release those roots. It's time to break free from all those different things that have grown into the wrong kind of seed that should have been trees of water, trees of life, things that should have been a blessing to you, but are keeping you cursed. I'll tell you that there's nothing better than being released.
Thank you for joining the NBMI experience today. Like, comment, and subscribe at www.facebook.com/NBMINY or our YouTube channel at www.youtube.com/NBMICHURCH. Also check out our new and improved website at www.newbeginningschurches.com. And finally, check out our new awesome church app, available on both Android and Apple platforms. Search your app store for NBMI CHURCH and be blessed.